Alright, Sabbath draws to a close, time to finish this story. So, we were at 9/11. It's basically where I was in my life when I started just completely not caring about humanity at all, knowing we were being led in completely Luciferian directions. All roads led to Satan. My investigations of the music industry, Hollywood, TV, everything. Satan is the Lord of this world. Whether you choose to believe it or not, your world leaders do. And they all meet in clubs behind things and do things behind closed doors that I can't believe, but no, it goes on. It's a very sad thing to realize, and one of the first things I try to tell people, I'm like, none of 9/11 will make any sense unless you understand that your government is trying to kill you. What is a government's number one job? Population and resource control. Resource management, call it what you will. Look into PNAC, all of the other, the Georgia Guidestones. I could go on for days, guys. I'm preaching to the choir, hopefully here. If not, you definitely need to wake up. Okay? Realizing the truth of Satan completely brought me back to thinking about the other side. But knowing what I know about Catholics and how false modern Christianity is, how am I going to go back? And I'm left with this book, and I'm like, well, I trust the Torah. The CIA backs that up. I don't really trust the New Testament because we just don't have legitimate copies of it. That's a whole nother video. But the manipulations of the Catholic Church and the canonization of the scriptures, completely done well after Jesus' death. And done mostly for political reasons. And the Reformation. The one thing about Martin Luther, the reason why they still killed him, he refused to retract his statement that the Pope was the Antichrist. Because literally the Catholic Church took Jesus' teachings, hid the Bible, slaughtered all the true believers, and made it into idol and pagan worship straight out of Satan's playbook. That's their MO. Again, that's a complete different video. But the Reformation was not allowed to go back far enough. Read the scriptures. What did Jesus say? He said, keep my commandments. If you don't keep my commandments and say you love me, you are a liar. And anyone who teaches otherwise will be considered the least of these in heaven. That's backed up all throughout scriptures. Follow the commandments and be blessed. Don't follow the commandments and we're cursed with death and sin. I can't explain it other than that. But I really started to question. And so I asked God. I had been to church with my grandmother a few times, and I really heard a man of God, and even knowing, I'm like, this is on Sunday, and doesn't know really what he's talking about. Just went to go help my grandma out, but the Spirit really spoke to me through him. I started questioning, like, God, are you real? And if you are real, could you possibly take me back? Me, who's done sacrilege and blasphemy. When I left the church, I did a lot of dark things. You want to talk about the only unforgivable sin being, blaspheming in the Spirit? I tried to blaspheme in the Spirit. I did the best I could. I tried every way I could to blaspheme in the Spirit. Just out of spite and anger and rebellion. That was me. I was a kid. I was 15. I had to ask God, can he really take me back? me. I mean, dude. But I finally was convinced that Lucifer was real. Every single road. He's got the agriculture, the science, the education department, the health department. These are all like designed to kill us. Period. It's a system of subjugation. It's not management. Once you understand their agenda, and like I said, you won't believe me about 9/11 or Sandy Hook or any of the other stuff, which again I was using the examples of Ruby Ridge, Waco, and Oklahoma City, but that's how long I've been in the game. And those were the big three to us before 9/11. Anyways, again, it's hard for me to talk and not get sidetracked. But I came back and I asked God, and I said, can you really do it? What I think and I joke about, I say they had to have a head-to-head-to-head, you know, Father, Spirit, and Son. Like, can we really trust this guy? Whatever. It was about 6-7 months later before I got a response. I mean, it was not immediate. It was just literally me begging and me crawling back on my knees, knowing that Lucifer's real, Lucifer's in control. They are bringing Armageddon. That's what's funny. All of the scriptures are being fulfilled by man. The Tigris and the Euphrates are run dry. They're both dammed up. That's done. And now one's in ISIS control. Sidetrack again. Apologies. But I seriously, it was about 6 or 7 months later, and out of nowhere, I was standing outside. God reached down and grabbed me with his arms of love and just wrapped me up. And I've never felt peace, I've never felt joy, contentment, anything at all like I had that moment. God begged, can you take me back? People talk about losing their salvation. The only way you can lose it is by rejecting it. Well, yeah, I've experienced that. I didn't do so well on my own. Did great, did horrible. Just didn't overall do so well. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. That was about 2010. And so I tried to get back into the church, and I knew going to seminary, I'm going to get tore apart. I knew trying to be a missionary for any kind of world organization, how can you do that when you're going to teach something completely different than what the church teaches? Because I'm sorry, Christmas, Ishtar, and Sunday worship are straight devil doctrines of the devil, and Paul warned of this. Paul didn't tell us to do those things. Paul told us not to do those things. And I knew that even before coming back to Christ. That's what I used to point out to people as how fake they were. From there, try to get it with the church, but just had to bite my tongue. I had to completely bite my tongue, and it was great. And what was funny was they started looking to me at, you know, as knowing what I'm talking about the scriptures. They asked me what I thought about it, and I'm just like, you know, I have to tap dance to try to answer these questions to not just get crucified. And in some ways I wish I had stayed, but I did not. I left. I left Oregon. I came back to Oklahoma. There's a lot of debate there. That's a whole nother video. Again, I'm trying to go on short on time, trying to stay on track. Okay, so I left. I took a job in Oklahoma because it was 2010. The economy was horrible. I couldn't even find a pizza job back up in Oregon or Seattle or anywhere. And I'd applied with plenty of companies and just it was that time. I had an opportunity, so I moved back to Tulsa and just completely got away from the church. The church I had grown up in had become a total mega church. I went there a couple times and just really was disappointed. Tried to go into some other small churches, but again, the way I thought and the way I had never heard of the Hebrew Roots movement or anything like that, I just I couldn't find any fellowship, so I totally fell away when I went to Tulsa up until the Flat Earth. And what's funny is I was looking into Genesis. I was looking into Creation Earth, and I had never known about Kent Hovind until he was already in jail. So this was like 2014, and I was looking into Kent Hovind, creation, rediscovering geology, looking into creation and Genesis accounts, and trying to study the Bible and be like, dude, well, if I believe in this thing, I need to test it. And with all of my scientific knowledge and everything, I mean, I had to throw all of my astrophysics out the window. It was a rush, and then all of a sudden the Flat Earth movement came along, and that's when I hitched on board. And it was literally flood research, mythology flood, geology compression, oil creation research, really in-depth things. And then the Flat Earth movement happened, and it was just one thing led to another, but it's the absolute truth. So take it or leave it. But where I went from that was totally getting more into the government is trying to kill you, the Flat Earth, they're trying to cover it up, and the deception stuff. And I had to get back into scriptures, and then I really found a lot of good people in the Hebrew Roots movement, and that's brought me way back to Jesus, even more so than it did in 2010. Because when I tried in 2010, I just felt like an outsider, and I was like, well, I don't agree with that at all, but I can't say anything today, you know. I'm so thankful to, you know, all of you. And it was a slow trickle, but Rob Skiba with the Flat Earth, and then from Rob Skiba with his interviews and the people he's talked to, getting, now you see TV with John and John. Love you guys. David Carrico, I consider you my pastor, but there are just certain people out there that I love you guys for helping me come back to the truth in a way that I understand it, because I'm just screaming to my Christian family, what are you missing here that he said, do not learn the ways of the foreign countries when you enter them. Don't worship me as pagans do. And yes, we have grace. We're not able to keep the Ten Commandments. That's known. It's done. But we have grace. But in Paul's own words, because we have grace, should we continue to sin? Heaven forbid. Well, what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. What is law? Law is Torah. So if you don't want to keep Sabbath, and if you want to eat bacon, that's fine. But you are not a follower of the true Messiah's teachings. And that's where we need to get back to, and it's for our own good. It is not a curse. It is a blessing. If we live according to God's law, we will be blessed. If we live against God's law, we will be cursed. That's the story of the Bible from front to back. And you can believe it, you cannot believe it, but it's been proven real to me over and over and over again. Even in my darkest times as a non-believer, it really was true to me. I love you all. I just wanted to let you know where I'm coming from, who I am, what my story's been. There are millions of details I could do, but again, I gotta keep it under 15 minutes, so we're stopping now. God bless you all. May He hold you in the shelter of His palm of His hand. May He give you peace. Until we see you again. God bless you.